Thiagrajan, the director at JK Sugars and Commodities, to please join us on the stage. Request you all to please welcome him with a round of applause. Now it's time to welcome our distinguished speakers to the stage. I would like to welcome Mr. Butchi Raju, the founder and CEO, BR Associates. Let's welcome each one of them with a round of applause. Mr. Rajiv Sikka, the ex-CEO, Indian Oil Adani Gas Private Limited. Mr. Sankalp Suman, the Deputy Head, Energy and Environment, ISMA. Let's keep the energy and the claps loud enough. Mr. Kshiteej Mishra, the Practice Member, Mobility, Energy and Transportation at Praxis Global Alliance. Let's give them a warm round of applause as they take their seats. Welcome, everybody. All right, everybody. We are good to begin with the next discussion. Over to you. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Dear panelists, thank you. Thank you for being here. My name is Sreeraman. I'm part of Bioenergy Times and Chini Mandi. So we'll start with a question to Rajiv sir. Why don't you set a context in terms of bioenergy and what does waste valorization actually mean, right? So give us some primer context so that we are all on the same page.
Hello. 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 Yeah. I'm audible? Yeah. So thanks to my all fellow panelists and the crowd as well. But the crowd is not really interested right now, it seems.
We will make it interesting.
So
yeah.
Can we hear you? अभी लंच लगता है लिया नहीं आप लोगों ने?
Or too much lunch.
Yeah,
either too little or too much.
जोर से, yeah. Can I hear you again? Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing this for me and as well as for the panel. So, yeah, Thiagrajan. So, actually, the question which you asked is very relevant. The waste which is being accrued, whether it's municipal waste or agri waste or it's all over. If you go to Delhi-Ghaziabad border, you will see a mountain, and I'm sure it's there in many of the urban centers or even otherwise also, even in agrarian kind of markets. So there is a need to how to use that. That is part one. And whether we can use it economically, that is part two. And third, then whether we can do it on a sustainable basis. Otherwise, if none of these will happen or two of these will happen, things will not move in the way which we want. And the climate thing, everyone is making noise. And each one of us are responsible, whether we are producers of agri waste or we work for a company which is doing some emissions. So we are all here to play our part. So that's what I see. The role is really challenging. The conferences and the discussions will not take us much for. It has to be action oriented at the end of the day. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you,
sir. Suman, see, when it comes to waste, we can say, for example, a municipal waste is kind of an unorganized. It's all mixed, non-segregated. But when it comes to sugar, right? Anything that comes out of a sugar industry is not exactly a waste, right? So how do you see waste valorization, creating value out of waste from a sugar industry point of view? Yeah.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right in saying that nothing in the sugar industry is treated as waste. So in the sugar model, how the circularity is achieved. Once the sugar cane reaches the mill and you separate the juice, the bagasse that is left is used for cogeneration. So if you've seen a ganne ka ras wala shop, so you'll see bagasse that is burnt to produce electricity. However, this bagasse is increasingly also becoming a very important resource for producing other fuels. 2G, second generation ethanol is one of them, a promising option, but also green hydrogen. ISMA has done a pilot with IISc Bangalore, and we've produced green hydrogen from those biomass at a decent rate. Similarly, biobriquettes, biopellets, and all of these options are also there. But that's not it. There is again press mud that comes out of sugar mills, and that's essentially just mud of the sugarcane that goes in the mills and is collected. that has such high VOCs and methane components that you can again use it, and it's, I think, today our best source of producing biogas at an aggregated way. And this model that the sugar mills have developed, it is not developed in a year or 5 years. ISMA as an organization has been there for 93 years, before even independent India. So this model has been developed closely in partnership with the industry and the farmers, where the industry also has deputation at the ground level, at the most minute ground levels, monitoring the crop growth, helping farmers, engaging with them. There's constant dialogue. I know some of the mills have, apps on which farmers, they get 70,000 queries at a time, when farmers can directly ask about weather, this and that. If there's FOLM that is being produced, that's the waste that gets produced when you produce CBG, and it's in huge volumes, and it's a big challenge right now. Our best hope is that we can use it as a fertilizer and give it back to these farmers, and that's where all the policy advocacy efforts of all the concerned bodies are also going on. So this relationship where you inculcate farmers and the industry in a single package, it creates a very circular atmosphere.
Right. I'll come back to you on a follow-up on this. Mr. Raju, sir, when you look at even the very first beginning, right, like the very first step of somebody wanting to get into a bioenergy, right? What are the challenges even in terms of feasibility today? Like, are there some changing policies? Are there availability of, feedstocks? Where exactly are the challenges for more people to start a bioenergy production today?
My specialization is in ethanol.
Okay.
From grain based.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the first step for somebody to start a feasibility, right? So where are the challenges today? Why are there not many?
Sir, most challenges are there. First, raw material, availability of raw material. Particularly, we are recommending for broken rice and maize. Government is supporting good price for maize and next to broken rice. So for these things, maize important is water, because we consume for 1 liter of 1 liter per 4 liters of water requirement. And feasibility, okay, government buyback agreement they are doing, and financial support is there. And most probably what we need is, because there is pollution control board, there so many restrictions are there, because half kilometer away from the city or a village, anything, and from river 1 kilometer away, so many things. And location is the very, very important to identify, sir. These are the main challenges, but product sales and byproduct, there is no issue and all. Very much demand is there. And from the beginning, so many technologies are there. Now the profitability is not much. For that, new technologies are coming to reduce the water consumption and steam consumption.
Right. Sir, I'll come to you on follow-up on ethanol question. Srijit, if we look at, the whole concept of valorization is we don't see waste as waste, but as a starting point of more value to be generated, right? So if we take the example of municipal waste, I remember last week there was a different conference where a minister was addressing, and he was saying, look, we need more than 1 ton of municipal waste every day, but despite we producing hundreds of tons, there's barely anything that's available to be used as a input for bioenergy. So where do you see the challenges in segregation, or is it in the logistics, is it in the policy, is it in the infrastructure? Yeah, so what's your opinion on,
So starting off, I think the point is very clear. The feedstock quality in general has not been up to the mark of the industry, right? And this is not just for bioethanol, even for biodiesel or for biogas in general. And municipal waste, which is a common theme across, right? You can use it in multiple sort of modes. That itself has not developed that segregation quality, right? At the end of the day, this is something that has to be conducted on a household level if you really want to use a municipal waste sort of a product into the whole biogas manufacturing, right? Or biofuels manufacturing in general. Even transportation of waste, that has also been a key concern, because the idea being that there is no common sort of a place through which this whole sale or transaction of waste can happen, right? So ultimately, what your end sort of factories get in terms of the feedstock, that itself You're not clarity on where it's coming from. There is no clarity on whether the quality is of a certain type or not. Like there is no standardization in place, and that has been one of the biggest concerns with municipal waste, and why maybe it still has not hit the marks in terms of adoption. Because at the end of the day, most of the bio sort of ethanol production still comes from molasses, and it will continue to be the case for some time in the future. Even for biogas, it's largely coming from so it's just your farm waste and everything else. Municipal waste on its own has not.
Talking about farm waste, Rajiv sir, why we are still burning stubble and throwing away the farm waste that we are supposed to be using it as a feedstock for bioenergy and CBG. So what's your take on that? Where are we stuck?
Yeah. So as far as the agri waste or residual, what you said, is concerned, the real challenge is one part, the land holdings, particularly in northern part of the country, they are very less. Small land holdings. So if a farmer is having, say, 0.5 acres, to whom he will sell and what will be his output and what price he will get. So we need aggregators, and we need people who can support him. Maybe the supply chain has to be really developed. There are consumption centers where this agri waste can be taken, where, say, CBG can be produced. There are so many LOIs have been given by Government of India, and all the MOP NG companies, GAIL, BPCL, HPCL, they are all doing they have been instructed as well. So they are bringing lot of CBG plants, and CBG plants require that. But again, how do they get it? That is part one. And this problem, more or less, like if you take example of Maharashtra, where the cooperative movement is very strong, so there maybe they can club it. So that is one thing which at a policy level, I don't know how do we really take it forward. And again, the incentivization and the real money accrution which the farmer should get, that's also a question. How will he get that money? And if we are really, because I've seen some plants, I'm giving you live examples. There is a plant in Bareilly, there is a plant in Badaयूं district, all in UP. So they have been struggling. The plants have been put up. So now the design, the CBG design, the design of the plant is to be changed actually, because they thought that being in agri-dominating district, they will get it. So there are design challenges, there are challenges of supply chain, there are challenges of sustainable supply chain. So a lot of issues to be addressed. But yes, things are shaping up little by little, I would say.
Right. Suman, let's move towards technology in this space, right? So sugar has been around for some 5,000 years or maybe more. We don't know that. I mean, it's there since the ancient times, right? So now that ethanol is a big boom for the sugar millers, but we are still predominantly barely in 1G, despite knowing that 2G is better. So what other technologies do we have? What is the technology landscape that you see helping millers with pivot towards a bioenergy?
So to address your first point, first, 2G is better in the sense that it adds to your existing pile of ethanol quantum. We do need 1G ethanol for both our domestic needs, and even further if we look at SAF, yes, 2G would be an important and a high premium input feedstock fuel for that, but 1G would still be required to fuel that. And if India would like to export SAF to the rest of the world, or parts of South Asia at least, it would require a combination of both. In India, we have the Essential Commodities Act, which sort of lists food as a priority. Yeah. So this question of food versus fuel that keeps popping up, I understand why it makes sense to a European mind, but to my mind, it doesn't make sense because we've seen even as the industry.
I stand noted on food versus fuel. Let's not even go there. I'm only saying, what are some technological advancements that we have, or that's helping, or kind of helping millers move from just sugar to more?
So that's what I was coming to. So therefore, we require next generation biofuels to be developed on the basis of existing development that we've already done. One is CBG and then valorization of CBG further to create sustainable aviation fuel or green hydrogen. These are two concepts that have been doing well at pilot scales, can be expanded if right policy is supported. And most importantly, sustainable aviation fuel. India would be one of the largest producers of sustainable aviation fuel in the world, and especially in Southeast Asia. We see Japan with the 10% SAF blending target. We see EU has already started its SAF blending target. The sugarcane carbon intensity is roughly 1/3 of the grain SAF carbon intensity. It's a very low carbon fuel. In fact, because we have manual harvesting happening here, and as Sir said, because there's so much...
the carbon intensity is low.
It's low.
Okay, so but anything on the tech side? I'm still waiting. If you notice anything new on any advancements in lignocellulose or in fermentation or in any of the processes?
No, of course, we have indigenous technologies being developed for lignocellulose biomass separation. We have several projects going on with the government, but the problem is not with the concept of technology. The problem is at the application of it at beyond the lab level. The technologies actually exist. What is required now is to go beyond the lab scale and start producing it. That's why I was giving this lens.
Got it. Mr. Raju, sir, is there most of the ethanol plants that you see are predominantly from the sugar millers, right? What do you think? There should be more players who should independently invest in ethanol, or do you see a trend like that happening?
Actually, from sugar,
Yes, sir.
sugar, it is a syrup-based we are doing now. Not making sugar and all. Directly from syrup. That after crushing, milling, juice, then we are going from syrup to directly ethanol. That is the one process. It is simple process. And now from grain, we are using so many things now. I think as I told, 2 items. First is maize and broken rice. In that, old technologies are there because it is going on from last 12 years. I started my first ethanol plant in 2012.
Sir, I can't hear you. Yes.
2012, first grain based. And at the time, there is no value for ethanol and nothing. Nobody is interested. Now, the demand are there. Technology is developed like anything for that one. Now, in addition to that, whatever the technology is developed, what we are going for that now is corn oil.
Right. Yeah.
And another thing is protein, human protein. Because all those things are going to, after distillation, we are separating and all these things. It is going as a cattle feed and all. So now we are introducing the new technology and MER. Because we need more water for this process and more steam. How to control those things? For that, now technology is developed with MER, mechanical vapor recompression. That is, whatever the vapors we are extracting and condensing previously, now that vapor we are recondensing and using again as a steam. With that, generally we use 3.8 kgs per liter steam. Now it has come down to 2.2 kgs.
Sounds good, sir.
And at the same time, water we are consuming more than 4.5. Now latestly this one, air-cooled cooling towers.
So everything is utilized there. Sir, in terms of, Rajiv, I'll come to you. Sir, in terms of economic viability, right? You have been a pioneer in CBG. Is it always start with a large capex, or do we see some kind of a mom and pop shops also getting into a bioenergy, and collaborate and then give it to a bigger off-taker and so on? How do you see this emerging?
Very valid question. Actually, there is a lot of struggle behind what you're saying. Right now, whatever has been done is not mom and pop. So people have generally gone for a capex of, say, 30 crores type. And I'm not taking the land value here, because land is lease, or you can buy it also. That will be varying from place to place. So 30 crore will, roughly I'm saying, will involve something like 22 crores of the capex. Then another 2-3 crores for the sales, for the office and electrical installation, and you need roads and all to commute in between. So the technology, the second part is the technology is not standardized. There are players who are doing EPC. There are players who are doing some of the machinery. So for the reliability, so if you sitting in say Kolhapur will go to a vendor and ask, and somebody will tell you 22 crores, and if you come to me and I will say 24 crores, so while you will think कि maybe that 22 crores is better, you will not be really able to evaluate. So the challenge regarding standardization is this. Third is the people have not been really able to reduce the cost. So
Cost at where? At capex level?
cost at capex level.
Okay.
And operationally people have done little bit here and there, and they have been able to reduce little bit cost here and there by doing by bringing in some scale of economy. So right now the real challenge is you have to push. So you have to bring in the capex, large amount of capex initially, and the gestation period fastest people are able to do it in 17, 18 months. Generally people are taking up to 3 years. And side by side, the challenge is whether you will get the bank loan. The other things have eased little bit. Whether how will you invest, and also some people are going for subsidy as well. So if you are looking for subsidy and not the actual production, again that's the wrong thing.
Right.
So there are all kind of people in the game. So they are thinking कि मेरे को subsidy मिल जाएगी. There are UP government is giving very good subsidy to tell you. But again, that subsidy will not make your business viable. So the challenge is, what my take is some kind of standardization, like what has happened in oil particularly. Where
Edible
the standards
oil?
are there.
Edible oil or?
Not, I'm talking
Fossil
of oil,
fuel.
fossil
Okay.
fuels.
Yeah.
So there the standardization is there. The vendors are more or less standardized. So we know what is what. So here that standardization will come, and then the capex will be reduced. That's my take.
Right. Kshiteej, what do you feel about generally the support system available for smaller players to enter into producing bioenergy and biofuels?
So in terms of the support system, like one of the major things that you look for is the government support,
Yeah.
right? In terms of the benefits, in terms of the subsidies, in terms of how they're making it easier for you to get to make those plants, right? And right now there are a lot of these private players who have now entered the space of as Ian mentioned, right, there are EPC players. There'll also be some developers who are ready to put their own capex upfront, sell it on a sort of unit basis, and then over time transfer the plant, right? So there are different models coming up which allow these smaller players to maybe enter the market, right? They can just do an EPC sort of a format wherein they're just providing a setup, and maybe someone like a Reliance or an Indian Oil just buys that setup from them. So, right, does not require a lot of capex upfront, but requires certain technical expertise. In terms of government incentives, government is giving certain amount, like up to about 4 crore for about, I think, a 5 ton per day sort of a plant, which is some amount, but it wouldn't be enough, as he had already mentioned, to cover up the entire plant. So for small players, the subsidies on its own are not good enough. The technological sort of know-how and EPC game, which is very similar if I was to compare to the solar industry, right? So if you remember, solar 10 years back was above the budget for most players, right?
Yeah.
Even the small players who wanted to enter and develop it, for them, they had to first start off with this EPC sort of a model wherein they're just setting it up for you, minimal capex, getting some sort of a support from investors while doing it. And then over time, they started developing their own projects. They started putting in their own money in it and becoming big players. So it's something that's expected in this industry over time. Yeah.
Right. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
So I will also like to give some statistics.
Okay.
Like almost if you go through the Satat scheme, 100 plus plants have been commissioned so far. But in real sense, only 10 of them are really making some money, or up to the cap. They are justifying the capex. So that is what I was pointing out.
So where is the gap? Is the policy or the program Satrak is not working, or is it people misusing it?
Okay,
or?
the government of India has done a lot of things recently. Also, they have brought out some change in the policy. They have increased the price also. So the real challenge is people not have been able to crack the technology part. Some of them are stuck with bad technology. Again, they have to spend 3-4 crores more. I'm giving just some example. Some of them are stuck with the supply chain issues. Some of them are really, they have made something, but particularly for CBG, if the gas pipeline is there nearby, then the cost reduces actually, cost of transporting it to the gas grid. So some of them, when they never thought about how far is the gas pipeline. then the coordination between the gas companies and so-called the plant operators also. So there are these challenges.
Yeah, if your off-taker is 10 kilometers away, even that's a long distance.
Yeah, because then you have to transport it through LCV. Again, there is a cost. So
even a 10 kilometers could be a deal breaker.
And who will spend the capex? Because that 10 kilometers steel pipeline is to be built. That will be again something.
So who's going to invest in that 10 kilometer of pipeline? Is it the off-taker? Is it the... Normally, what's the deal?
The policy is the company can do it if they have got some similar business around. But that's again, that will vary from company to company. Na? So right now, the plant operators, they won't be able to spend another 15 crores will be roughly
unlike
the
electricity
cost.
where the offloading it to grid is much easier. Yeah, I mean, it's omnipresent, right? Electrical...
Very right.
Yeah. That one point is very clear here in terms of how do you transport the final product, right? In India and CNG itself, let's talk about CNG, not even bio-CNG. That being such an old industry, that's still transported through tanks majorly. Like pipelines on its own have not been developed for large-scale transportation. And if you go to biofuels, which are highly corrosive, which require better quality pipes, that in turn makes it even more difficult to transport, and that makes the cost go up for everyone.
Right. So I'll have a few questions towards sustainability. Kshiteej, maybe you can continue. Right. So what is the proof of the pudding? How do you prove any one of this is sustainable? I know it's we are reusing waste, reducing it. We are moving away from a take, make, dispose model. But how do you prove anything? What is the proof of sustainability?
So how we prove sustainability and how carbon credits, for example, is calculated is the amount of CO2 saved from being emitted into the environment. So as such, what biofuels are doing, it's replacing your traditional fossil fuels, right? So that being your petrol, your traditional diesel, even CNG or any other form of petroleum. And when it's burnt, the amount of CO2 that's being released, plus the amount of CO2 being released during extraction, during refining, all of that when you add it up, and then when you compare it to biofuels, there is that stark difference which is coming up. So just from our bioethanol production currently, we are saving about 5 to 10 million tons of CO2, which is equivalent to giving electricity to about millions of families, 10 million of families. Like if you're just providing them coal-based energy, that's the amount of CO2 you're releasing, and that is being saved by just using bioethanol instead of petroleum. So it's across the life cycle. Moreover, there's another advantage which is coming from stubble burning, right? Now, this has been an issue, especially for people living in Delhi. They would kind of relate, right? So during those winter months, because of stubble burning, there's a clear addition towards the environmental pollution, right? And here they're giving a clear substitute to burning it and selling it and monetizing that opportunity. So there are multifold ways in which this sort of environmental benefit will come from the adoption of biofuels instead of petroleum. And one last sort of a side take on it, which is something that Suman also mentioned in SAF, right? This is one industry which cannot probably adopt EVs, right? For it, biofuels is sort of the way ahead, because EVs on a flight, it does not really, at least from a technology point of view, has not reached there yet. And this is an area which also is one of the major pollutants in the environment. Like across globally, people are taking it, like Europe has already mandated 20% sort of things by 2030 in terms of SAF adoption. So this is an area wherein there's a huge potential, and as he already mentioned, India can be at the center of it. So there is a lot more potential.
Yeah, so let's hold Suman on that. You mentioned SAF and you painted a very positive picture, but so far it's been a demonstration of our capability, but it's not yet taken flight, right? There was one test flight from Pune to Delhi, and Praj did it and so on. So where are we in that? See, there is neither a policy level on the blending. It's still in the talk, right? We were supposed to have 1% by next year and by 27, but it hasn't taken effect. It's in the discussion, or there isn't anyone actually producing it. Even the companies who are meant to, or company who was incorporated for it, they aren't producing it yet, right? So where are you drawing your
So I don't know where you're saying they're not producing it yet, because
I spoke to them last week.
So because that's what I'm saying. IOCL's R&D head.
Okay.
IOCL has a plant in Panipat for making
that's
SAF.
2G ethanol, but
for making SAF, for which they've said that they'll be able to supply half of at least 1% requirement by 27. So that's what has been said by now. But you're absolutely right. We have fallen short of the capacity that we require. And there's a good chance that we miss the first 2027 1% target. We are in fact obliged to blend 5% by 2030. The problem, as we can take a step back from the ethanol blending time, we saw that the OMCs had one opinion, we saw that the ethanol manufacturers had one opinion, and we saw that OEMs had one different perspective. The car producers had a different perspective. And the government had to come, take the driver's seat, and the Niti Aayog came out with the roadmap, which exactly told you what will you do in what year. This is how we are going to buy it. This is the mechanism to support it. That is essentially what India requires to do SAF blending. But before that, we require a couple of prerequisites. One is to have a carbon intensity number for India's ethanol or ethanol to SAF. As Mr. Mishra just mentioned, carbon credits is a very important aspect of all of this, driving all of these activities.
That might enhance it. I'm saying we haven't even started making 0.1%, let alone 1% blending. We haven't started it yet. We've been talking about it. So where are we stuck? Is it because of carbon intensity discussion or policy?
The carbon intensity discussion is important because your fuel won't qualify without it.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
You need to show that the fuel is causing 10% less carbon emissions.
Yeah, okay.
So therefore, the carbon intensity number is very important. ICAO, if you check, there's a CI number for US grain-based SAF. There's a CI number for ethanol-based SAF for Brazil,
yes.
not for India. So that's one thing. Second, of course, for the industry, if I say, one is how much credit would the government be giving? Would that credit be incentivized? Because this requires huge capex in thousands of crores. Who would put it up? In ethanol, we saw you produce this much, but then you don't produce these. Orders come retrospectively or preemptively. The industry has put in the money. So they require further guarantees if they are going to put in this kind of money. What pricing? What pricing would be taken? Who is buying it? The OMCs are buying it. The airlines are buying it. Where is it being blended? At the refinery or at the airport? There are some very important logistical, practical and policy questions that are yet to be resolved before anyone puts some money. That's why you're saying absolutely correctly that everyone is talking about it, but nobody is doing it. But these conversations are happening, and they're happening at a far greater speed now.
So talking about pricing, let's say ethanol pricing, it's differently priced based on, based on absolutely actually nothing.
Actually,
so ethanol being ethanol, let's say this is 200 ml of ethanol, it should be priced same. It doesn't matter what feedstock you use. So why is there disparity there?
That is the government policy. Morning, Mr. Lieutenant also told me there is no proper body to control the things. One side, the DFPD, they are controlling their oil company, they are controlling something, and Prime Minister office, they are doing something. But there is no proper body who understands practically what is happening and all. That's why my presentation also I mentioned. FCI rice they are giving for 22.50.
Sir?
FCI, Food Corporation of India, they are supposed to give, recently the GO passed for 22 rupees 50 per kg. For that rice, whatever the ethanol we are producing out of that rice, their pricing is only 61. And maize we are purchasing now. For maize, whatever the ethanol we are producing from maize, they are giving 72. There is a lot of, there is no proper policy for that and all. Actually, combined price, that's what I am telling. Both average for rice this much. And if you are purchasing rice from outside, that is they are giving 66 rupees.
Right.
So three variations and it is not the proper policy what I am telling.
That's
and
it.
Ultimately, what benefit they are getting. It is on ethanol, our profit is 1 rupee, 1.5 rupee. And fully all percent based on DDGS and CO2. So many plants are coming and DDGS rates has come down. There is also no proper policy.
Right. So we have seen different issues across ethanol, SAF and so on. So if I were to give this towards a progressive end, and then maybe we'll take some questions from the audience, I would like to ask some questions about collaborations and people coming together for sustainability and scale. Like not the sustainability from planet, from a business sustainability as such. So, sir, is there like a Amul moment that's something that should happen? Or who are the people that should come together for a better output or a throughput of entire biofuels as such?
Now, what has started happening, which is heartening also, now the big companies, generally like what you also said, or he said, maybe IOC and Reliance can take away.
Closer, yes.
Once some kind of scale comes, they can buy out the plant operators. So now like recently about last year, the Reliance came up with AP government. They will be building a lot of CBG plants there. So now, once having decided a state, actually, I'm just taking an example. So which means, and they had mentioned some capacity also. I do not remember that exactly now, but it meant not less than 35 plants in one state. So that gives them the scale of economy. If they are procuring, the vendors are assured, and they are bringing that technology there. The government, the AP government can also help. I'm just taking one government name. So that brings some kind of collaborative, what I would say, arrangement between the farmers who produce, between a big company who can invest, who does not have capex issues, and again the consumption, because they have got their own outlets as well. So they can sell it there also. So all three angles are taken care. Now that kind of collaboration, again, just to go back on the ethanol example, because ethanol started in India sometime in 2002 to 2003. And the oil companies were there, all three oil companies. I do not know what is your experience, but I would say it from the other side. So all three oil companies, they are not having less than 300 locations over India. Okay, so they would have a depot, some kind of storage depot, maybe in Nasik, maybe in Badaयूं. Every 100 kilometers, some company would be having. So with that kind of infrastructure, and then they were doing the same kind of tenders together, okay, which brought in some solace to the producers like you. I hope you are producing, that's what I understand. So I'm not counting on your real-time examples or real-time experience. There would be some issues. But again, there is some assurance of, if I'm producing something, there are buyers who can pay money. They will pay you money as well. So that kind of collaboration I do not see particularly in other biofuels as of now, but those things have to happen. The state government, some kind of private big players, and some kind of local cooperative movement, or whatever you may call. The more it happens, like ethanol, I believe is pretty stabilized, because that time I remember I was in the oil company and they said कि Brazil में 20% होता है. We were shocked. हम लोग को 1% करना मुश्किल लग रहा था. But now sitting in 2025, it's happening actually. So again, the biofuels, other fuels are maybe 10 years ahead, when we'll be doing the same kind of conference and you will be anchoring and he will be there. So again, the same, we'll be saying something different actually. That time the results will be visible through this collaboration.
That's what I wanted to say. Who should cooperate more? Who all should come together to make this even bigger booming industry as such?
I think Sir has covered most of the bits, especially in terms of the OMCs, right? Ultimately, they are the ones who are going to buy it. So, and they have their targets to meet. So when they sort of get involved, and usually they get involved with the capex, because that's the biggest contribution they bring, that enables technology companies to develop better technologies which can improve efficiencies probably, that enables some structure to be created around standards of technology. Like I was recently researching on this player called GPS Renewables. They've been working a lot with Reliance on CBG plans that he was talking about. And the fact is that as they have that assurance from Reliance that there is a certain demand that they want, they are developing new technologies which enable Reliance to be better performing in those demands, right? So it's the certainty that does enable sort of better results for everyone, right? And especially those contracts which come across at a large scale, which Reliance is already doing. So Reliance has almost committed about 60,000 crores and like on top of that in terms of just adopting CBG, which not yet the others have not really followed in yet, at least for sort of the compressed biogas. So that is one major enabler. Government is also an enabler in terms of just continuous support. So as he was talking about right earlier, like one part is the subsidy that they're giving, which is, okay, one part of it. But how do you enable sort of land acquisition? Because land acquisition still continues to be one of the biggest issues with any sort of infra project, right? How do you enable that? How do you continuously assure that maybe something like carbon credits come up? Because, for example, if you were to look into Europe, right, so they've introduced the CBAM, which means that any product that's imported into Europe, if the carbon emissions associated with it crosses a certain limit, you have to pay extra taxes on it. So ultimately, there are ways in which you can sort of incentivize the industry and make it go faster. But it's about over time how the government is able to enable those sort of policies and those sort of structures which matter too.
Right. Suman, cooperation and cooperatives are nothing new in sugar. So how do we do something like that for bioenergy? Who all should come together?
So I speak for the private sugar mills, as ISMA represents the private sugar mills. But
You know the model, I mean,
yes,
it works, yes.
Yes. In general, I think as we figure out carbon financing for all of this, these things would start happening on their own. There's a gap that comes at the social cost of what is happening. Today, we are buying the most expensive sugarcane in India in the world and selling the cheapest sugar in the world also. So there is a large part of our manufacturing that goes back to the farmers, 76% almost, that goes back to the farmers. We see the FRP is being increased year on year, what we pay to the farmers, but the price of sugar or ethanol is not increasing.
Yeah.
Both are controlled by the government. So the private industry as such has very little incentive as from a business point of view to go and make these innovations, take risks and do things like that because they're quite controlled. Here, if you get carbon credits, if there are further incentives that are provided by government, these exist in other places in the world, as Mr. Mishra just said. So that would incentivize people to first produce low carbon resilient agriculture, produce further low CI of sugarcane. That would make our product internationally competitive. Right now, Brazil's CI is 22. They aim to make it minus 16 by 2030. I was in Brazil when they passed the Future Fuels Act, where they want to do the blending till 35%. And then similarly with SAF, similarly with CBG. So a coordinated policy of all of these A, B, C, D aspects of biofuels, especially focused on financing, it would mobilize most of the things that currently seem to be a little difficult.
Excellent. So we have some time if there is questions from audience on anything about the waste valorization, on circular economy, on making more sustainable biofuels. Audience? Yes, sir. Could we please have a mic sent to the gentleman in the second row?
Thanks, panel, for a good discussion. Basically, as you see the success story in ethanol, it has come because industry has become viable. You see, we are selling ethanol, and every raw material is getting different price, and that becomes economical to the manufacturer. Then only ethanol will become a success story. Same way, if somebody want to have a biofuel or bio-CNG economical, one has to see that aspect. You see, 1990, ethanol started. Nothing has come out. Only after 2010, it has come out. 2080 especially, when oil companies were paying, ethanol is the same. But manufacturers are getting different price. If somebody says a finished product is the same, how you get a differential price? That is the government policy which they have introduced. That's why ethanol is a success. Same way, if somebody want to make bio-CNG as economical, so they have to think in that line. Then only it will be successful.
Sir, you want to take this? Yeah, so, sir, thank you. Noted on the comment. Any specific ask or the question for any of the panelists?
You see, basically, as sugar industry is there, every sugar industry has a potential of having a bio-CNG. They have a press mud. They have a spent wash from the distillery. They can make bio-CNG.
Suman, you want to comment?
So thanks, sir. You made a very valid point. Ultimately, the economics has to drive. Like, that is what has been happening to ethanol, where the sellers are getting the price, whatever, and the buyers are also buying that. So same thing has to happen in CNG also. And ultimately, the scale which we were talking, the collaborations, the optimization in the technology, better financing by the banks, better facilitation by the state government, whether it's land acquisition and things like that, and assisting them really. So if
You
that
see,
happens, then
maize may have not come. Maize have not been come to ethanol if the prices are not like this. 72 rupees you are getting of maize. That's why maize has come for ethanol. Maize, rice, and sugar, if you say you make it from CFE molasses, you get a different price. BFE molasses, you get a different price. If you make it from juice, you get a different price. Same way, bio-CNG is capable. And not only this, it will help the soil health also. Whatever nutrients are there, which is coming from the soil, will recycle back. So we have to think on that line. Carbon credit, soil health, everything will come up.
Can I add one more point? Hello?
Hello. Just too small.
Yeah. Why? Since there are so many potential from all the sugar factories in Uttar Pradesh, why not take a very simple initiative of government funding 50% of the pipeline cost and all the sugar factories pumping pipeline cost 50%? Automatically, every sugar industry of a 8,000, 10,000 TCD plant with a distillery making ethanol, the potential is there to make 15 tons per day of CBG. All what is required is only pipeline, that's all. Adani can take the initiative. You already have a license to set up pipelines in UP. You take the pipeline initiative. Automatically you do in western sector, eastern sector, central sector, automatically things will start flowing. Sometimes some things are very simple and obvious at the ground level, but at 30,000 feet, one cannot see what it is. And we talk about global alliance. We don't need global alliance. We need alliance in UP only. And that too with only sugar sector. Very simple. Adani, you have got your ports over there. You are transporting CBG. Why are we setting up press mud to produce plant for all 350-day operation? When sugar factory is in operation, we'll give you press mud. Balance your gas will come and do it.
Sir,
So that
it's an
has got no
interesting
sense at
debate.
the moment.
I would like to have chai and charcha on this with you privately or with any one of us. Otherwise, in interest of time, any closing notes? Otherwise, we are good to go. Yeah.
Just to add something on the CBG point on sugar mills, we have roughly 10-15 CBG plants that are either operating or in some process of being commissioned. DCM Sreeraman being one of the most recent ones, having 210 TPD plants. In Uttar Pradesh, sir, the problem is while we can use press mud and IPL has a plant that is using that, because of the Ganga river basin, we have a big problem of ZLD. The FOLM that comes out of the sugar mills is in the CBG plants is 200 kiloliters per ton. That's the volume. So to handle that, we can't put it directly into the field. We have to incinerate the entire volume. That's massive volume. That is where the problem is. The industry is also very keen because we are supposed to get value out of it. But to give you an example, I visited NSAI, Natural Sugars and Allied Industries CBG plant. They were flaring half of what they were producing. In front of my own eyes, I saw that they were flaring half of what they were producing because they didn't have enough cascades and the offtake was not good enough. So unless these pipelines are there, bagasse, if the price is correct today, the industry can meet CBG demand with bagasse very easily. But these things have to also work out for industry to take this.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you, gentlemen. We saw a lot of topics today covering valorization, feasibility, technology, cooperation, and challenges at policy, challenges at off-takers level, challenges at demand and supply. I think it was a well-rounded discussion. I'm sorry, sir, I will have to wrap it up, but any one of us would be available off the stage with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, my dear fellow panelists. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much to all our esteemed panelists for that very insightful session. And now we'd like to express our token of gratitude to all our speakers, and we'd like to present mementos. I would request Mrs. Meenal Singh, the General Manager, to please come up on stage to present the mementos. We would like to extend our thanks to our distinguished speakers. We'd like to thank Mr. Butchi Raju, the Director of Butchi Raju Associates. Let's give it up, everybody, with a round of applause, everyone. We would also like to thank Mr. Sreeraman Thiagrajan, the Director at JK Sugars and Commodities, Chini Mandi. We would like to thank Mr. Sreeraman Thiagrajan, the Director, JK Sugars and Commodities. Can we keep the claps and the cheers louder, everybody? All right. Next, we would like to thank Mr. Sankalp Suman, Deputy Head Energy and Environment, Indian Sugar and Bioenergy Manufacturers Association. We would like to express our thanks to Mr. Kshiteej Mishra, the Practice Member, Mobility, Energy and Transportation, Practice Global Alliance. We also express our thanks to Mr. Rajiv Sikka, the ex-CEO, Indian Oil Adani Gas Private Limited. We are truly thankful to all our speakers, our moderators, to our distinguished guests on the panel today. Can we have a round of applause, everybody?